Welcome to PathMonk Presents, the place where business owners and marketers share their insights on digital growth. In every episode, we discuss real strategies, why they worked, and also why they didn't. Get insights from real experience and save yourself a whole lot of time and money. Let's get to it right now. Before we get started with today's episode, let's have a quick look what PathMonk is all about. If you're winning leads, demos, or sales through your website, then PathMonk might be interesting for you. PathMonk is an extension to your website. It watches each visitor as they're moving through your page. And it builds up their interest in your product or service in real time to deliver a great uplift in conversions from your website. Usually, the buying journey can be divided into stages: awareness, consideration, and decision making. PathMonk figures out in which stage a given visitor is by watching every action that they do on the website. And it provides them with micro experiences, such as notifications, case studies, introductional videos, helping them to move to the next stage in the buying journey towards a conversion. Let's jump into today's episode.
That's great.
So for today's episode, I have a very interesting guest here, hailing from Palo Alto, Palo Alto native, I actually should say. We actually going to be learning quite an interesting topic today on the PathMonk Presents podcast. We're talking a lot about digital growth, digital marketing, and so I'm very curious what the team from BLOCKULTURAL has in store for us today. I'm talking with Min H.Kim, and she is, gonna give us the insights on what the team is all about, who they're focusing on, and also how she thinks about digital growth, and at the same time, how she got to the position where she's at today. So we're on that 20-minute spotlight on BLOCKULTURAL. So welcome, Min.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Very good. So maybe in your own words, right? What is BLOCKULTURAL all about in your own words?
What is BLOCKULTURAL about? BLOCKULTURAL started out as my own personal events agency, and I moved to San Francisco. I didn't have a job, and so I decided that I wanted to do something around events. And I moved into a trip while I was living with two other people, and I was paying $600 a month, and I was just trying to do anything to pay the rent. And I ended up starting a weekly crypto event series in a garage basement that my friends had, and it ended up being 100 people coming to a lot of these events, and very well attended, one of the most regular event series around crypto and SF. And so we expanded to larger venues, and a lot of these people that I met through the events wanted me to help them with branding and storytelling around PR, investor relations, and also digital marketing. And so that's how I got interested in the whole cryptocurrency field. I ended up getting clients through that, and it grew to a roster of more than 30 clients in 2018. And that was when I was 25. So it was definitely a very bold move on my part, but it definitely paid off, and it really coincided with this crypto market bull run in 2017.
Very, very cool. So there's a little bit of background there. So who would you be working with today? Like what would be sort of, a typical client that you're working with? Like why would they be coming to you? Like maybe you could paint us as a picture.
Yeah, so I mean, initially when I was first starting BLOCKULTURAL, a lot of my expertise was just very, soft actors expertise around positioning and PR, but I ended up taking several full-time jobs while kind of putting my consulting business on hold at places like Wabi. It's a top 3 crypto exchange, doing managing some of their digital marketing spend. I also worked at Tron, where we did some digital marketing related work, and also at Cred, where we did digital marketing as well. So I think that digital marketing for crypto is not very well understood, but I do have experience there. So right now, it's definitely digital marketing is definitely part of my service line, but I also kind of work on the same stuff I used to when I first started my agency around positioning, branding, storytelling, and community management. So yeah, it's just a very wide array of things, and yeah, definitely. want to just like come in and assess the needs of each client. So it's very much a bespoke engagement for each client. It's not really like one playbook or one size fits all.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense. And who would be typically the champion? Like who's reaching out to? Is it business owners? Is that like marketeers to, get you on help to work with you? Like, who do you typically talk with?
It's crazy because the space is so small, and I always just go out and try to meet people and try to provide value by making introductions. And I've worked on several projects with clients with other marketing agencies where we really hit it off. And then we'll end up starting to do bi-weekly catch-up calls, right? They become my friends, and then they want to bring me into other client engagements with them, right? Or a lot of investors really like my work, and if they've invested in a project where I'm working on the marketing for their portfolio company, they want to bring me into other portfolio companies. And then yeah, lastly, I just know a lot of people who are developers in the space who end up starting companies and being serial entrepreneurs. And so that's another way that I just get referrals from other entrepreneurs to their entrepreneur friends. I think the unique thing about me is that I am very hands-on, and I just really enjoy doing the dirty grunt work as well as the strategy. And as an entrepreneur, you have to take out you're a team of one in the beginning, so you have to take out the trash, right? You have to do the accounting, you have to do a lot of unglamorous work. And when you bring in an agency, you definitely want someone who also has a founder's mindset and doesn't believe that any task is too below them, right? And so I'm able to just be there and kind of be that helping hand in any way possible on the marketing and even BD side. So that is my mindset when engaging with these clients.
I see. Very, very good. What would you say, what role does your own website play? Like, does the website play a role in, winning clients? Is it, you mentioned a lot of the events that you were running. Is it, word to mouth? Do people recommend you a lot, like you were describing? Like, what role do you attribute to the website?
Definitely. Yeah. So I think that my website, I actually rebranded to include a K because people were mispronouncing the name of my company. But so it's now BLOCKULTURAL.com. I used to get a ton of inbound traffic there around clients when I was running my regular in-person meetups. I would get yeah, like a huge email list, especially around people who wanted to be notified of future events, right? And also just people who wanted to be in the loop around hot San Francisco crypto related projects. But I think now I definitely am looking to establish my own brand and establish more backlinks by, for example, hosting a podcast called Around the Coin. And I also used to do a lot of yeah, just like general blog posts that I would write myself that would link into my website. I also I haven't done this really actively now, but for all my clients, I'd want them to have my logo and my website linked to their website, right? So it's definitely like an interesting process around creating this series of backlinks, right? But I'm getting there. Yeah, I haven't really been aggressive recently around that, but I definitely do understand the importance of creating those backlinks.
Very cool. Very, very good. And do you attribute like a, does the website, and the types of business that you're running in the crypto world, it's probably very interesting also for other folks out there to hear. Does the website play a role in client acquisition? Or is it all, you're being recommended from one to the other? Like, what would you say?
You know what? It's so interesting because I do get mostly word of mouth referrals, but for people who are referred in through someone like a friend that I know, they check out my website, right? Because they get a calendar invite, right, with my domain. And then they go on the website and they look through it and they come across the core values, which I think are very unique. I have four core values, and it's an acronym DISC: dedication, integrity, scrappiness, and creative and contrarian methods. So just kind of when they read that, they tell me like, hey, this was really impressive because I know with other agencies, right, it's really more around the service line and product, and it's not really around the why or like understanding the motivation behind what they do. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback around that as well. So I think the website is a great selling tool, but for me, it's been more of like selling a warm lead
Makes
into
sense.
a client, right? Rather than being like the fundamental top of the funnel lead gen source for me.
Makes sense. Coming back to sort of your experience in the services for everybody who's listening in, what would you say is sort of a main competitive advantage that somebody's getting when working with Black Cultural? Black Cultural. Sorry, no, I pronounced it.
Yeah,
Dispronounce it to
it's
myself.
block cultural. Yeah, you know what? I think that the main competitive advantage they get is that I have worked with so many clients. I've if like I've written press releases. I've done, like small uh you know, events for people, right? And I think I've engaged with more than it has to be more than like 100, right? So I
Mhm.
think the number one thing is that I'm one person, but I've seen so many different, things, different playbooks. And so I have that context of, hey, this is what this client did, right? And it worked, right? And it seems like this is a similar scenario. Second of all, I think that I truly view what I do as an art and as a passion as my calling, right? I know I've talked to other agency owners and they told me that the agency is a stepping stone into creating a venture fund, right? Or creating their own project or, sourcing leads for another company they're running. But for me, the agency is has always just been something I did for fun, right, as an individual, and it just became so popular among the customer base that I had to kind of make it into a bigger brand and like establish a company around it, right? But something that I would just do for fun because I love it and I love helping founders tell their stories. And so I think the fundamental motivation behind why I'm doing it is also something that really helps clients establish trust with me. And
Mhm.
that trust allows them to onboard and kind of integrate me into the team much quicker, right? And so the onboarding curve is definitely, um, shortened. They're saving a lot of time. And then they don't have to really re educate me because I already have so much context from working with so many other clients. Yeah, and then I do increase their community sizes in a way where uh if they have relevant partnership opportunities with other people I've worked with in the past, I can set up the 20 partnership intros right in a day. And so I'm actually accelerating their exposure to other people's networks from day one in a way where every other partner that they could have an introduction to has already worked with me for 3 to 4 years and has that trust. And so by working with me, they also have this trust by association, right? So I think that that is all stuff that really helps them increase their community size much faster and really contributes to that customer lifetime value, right? Or just the longevity of their community and of yeah, just like decreasing churn, all these things. So I definitely think that it's very quantifiable around the impact that I have when I work with clients.
If you would summarize that, right? If somebody is sort of listening in and trying to sort of picture like how you would actually be supporting them, like what would be sort of like maybe the top three like key activities that you typically would do in order to support the companies?
You know what? I think like a lot of it is first I'll kind of sit down with them and I'll create a positioning statement, right? Like, hey, we are the first to do this, or we're the best at this, or we provide this service 10 times cheaper than the leading competitor, right? So we'll create some sort of leading statement that's a tagline, and then second, I go in and I help them establish partnerships, right? Because a lot of the companies that I engage with are, only like 3 to 4 people. It's very early stages. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of connect them and we do partnership announcements. And then thirdly, I just help them with community campaigns, be it like, for example, we did a song competition campaign with one of my clients where a famous rapper with around 9 million Twitter followers was the judge, right? So just kind of creating something like really unique that we can leverage would be another thing that I do. And then on the flip side, a lot of companies have to use vendors, right, when they're internationalizing to other markets or they want to engage with like, I don't know, a PR agency or or maybe like a YouTuber, for example. So I'm able to cut costs there by helping them negotiate, just because I worked with a lot of the vendors, right? And I'm able to just kind of streamline and manage the vendors so that we're getting the highest ROI possible. And yeah, lastly, I'm just able to evangelize with them and create thought leadership content, have them on Clubhouse, have them on panels with other thought leaders to kind of integrate them into the community much faster.
Mhm.
And so by doing this, I'm able to grow their acceptance and awareness in the crypto mainstream audiences that much quicker.
Very
So
cool.
that would be kind of like my service line.
You brought up Clubhouse there, quite curious actually. Like, what role do you see sort of for marketeers and maybe agencies? How do you foresee Clubhouse being used?
Yeah, so I actually started a DeFi clubhouse. It's one of the largest DeFi related clubhouses now with my co-host Rob Benke, CEO of hellbarn.com. And Rob actually was one of those marketing agencies that I really loved working with. And
Mhm.
so we would share clients and we'd always have some sort of regular sync. And now a lot of our clubhouses are around 100 to 200 people. And I bring a lot of my clients onto the clubhouse, right, with full disclosure. And it also becomes a way where I can engage with people that might have been that I was interested in working with on a client basis, but I wasn't like super, super clear or familiar with. It's just another excuse to interact with them, saying, hey, I saw you in Clubhouse. You can invite them up to speak, right, and ask them some relevant questions and get them involved in the dialogue. But yeah, it hasn't really been like top of funnel. It's been more of, hey, like let's convert this warm lead into another conversation and maybe that will lead somewhere. So that has been the main function of Clubhouse for me. I also have my Twitter tagged to my Clubhouse, so I've been able to grow my Twitter following through that. But again, it's been more of a conversion tool rather than a top of the funnel tool for me.
Makes sense. Super interesting. Cool. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview already, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Yes.
What's the last book that you read?
The last book that I read was Marie Kondo. I forget what it's called. It's like The Joy of Tidying or something.
Very good. What's the one single thing that your company's focused on the most at the moment?
The one single thing is that my company's focused on is really creating unique campaigns for our clients that everyone will talk about or everyone will notice.
Mhm. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing you want to have fixed for your company today?
Yes, if there were no boundaries for technology, I would have something that would allow me to participate on 3 conference calls or 5 conference calls at the same time and be able
Okay.
to filter for when they mention my name or when there's relevant conversation to me so that I could respond and be on 5 at once. That would be amazing.
That's pretty cool, actually. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Yeah, about my company, it's I think it's I think it's around, hey, should I grow this really aggressively or is this more of like a lifestyle brand for me, right? Not a lifestyle brand, but like a lifestyle company.
Mhm.
Because if I were to have clear revenue goals, I think I would have to sacrifice a lot of the things I look for around personal chemistry with the founders and being very, very picky around who I engage with. So just
Mhm.
that trade-off there.
Very good. And the very last question would be, if today would be your very first day starting the company, what's the one advice that you would give yourself?
I think the one advice I would give myself would be again, if something doesn't feel right in a client engagement, it's better to end it the first day rather than the third week, right? I don't think it's going to be here nor there. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't start off on the right foot, then it's probably a good signal around it's not going to be a client that has longevity.
I think that's a very good one. So not trying to sort of hold on, but rather listen to the early signs. That sounds
Definitely, definitely.
very good. Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot for being part on the Pathway Presents show. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody forgets everything about the interview, what should they remember about your company?
they should remember that I'm here and I'm looking to also mentor people and just looking to connect and provide value in the ecosystem. So they can email me at min@blockkultural.com, min@blockkultural.com. And I'm always available to chat, so they can ping me anytime.
Thanks for being part of Pathmark Presents today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.